Hey guys, Happy New Year. Tyler Tolman here. I just wanted to get on video and share a message, maybe some inspiration, maybe share some of where I feel things are headed in 2015 for myself and potentially as a collective for all of us. I want to have a conversation about evolution of consciousness. Evolution of the human experience as well, and just simple things that we can do to take this physical body to a state of divine health and take our consciousness potentially to a whole nother level. And I believe it's through evolution of our consciousness that's going to affect our physical body as well. And it doesn't hurt to have a higher vibrational energy coming from our environment, coming from our relationships, coming from the things that we're physically putting into our body. And, obviously you guys know that, I'm big on talking about health, and a lot of the health that I talk about is physical. So, this is kind of some of the things I want to talk about. There's this big conversation of like raising our vibration. And how does one raise their vibration? You hear people, specifically people who call them, hippies, talking about raising your vibration, man. Let's raise our vibration. And, it's not really graspable. It's not solid. It's not something that, raise your vibration. Well, what does that mean? And that's the conversation I like to have about what it means to raise our actual vibration. So in order to do that, I think the conversation comes down to what are things that are highly vibratory, and what's more dense as opposed to something that's more light. And when we say density and lightness I believe is something that actually contains more light. And light, I think, is information. I think it is consciousness. It's the origins of consciousness. When we talk about light specifically, we can think about they have, they literally have these big wires that go between continents and have this little stuff, what do you call that? Fiber optics that is like light traveling on fiber optics. That's actually information. Information travels on light these days through fiber optic cables. So we know that information, it can be contained within light. Well, what's the highest source of light? The highest source of light, in my opinion, is the sun. It has all the frequencies of light. It has everything that we need. And when we look back to ancient cultures of individuals, we can see that they literally would go out, and it says that they worship the sun. They did not worship the sun. That is false. They only worshipped one divine creator, all-powerful being, and you cannot define it. They didn't actually have a name for it. Now, they said that the light that came from the sun disk was the manifestation that came from this all-powerful creator, and they called that the Aten, or Amen, Ra, or just raw, which is very interesting, looking into the things that we put into our body, also being called raw food, almost like sun food, which I find interesting. But let's just take this conversation of vibration, higher vibration and light. If we look at light from a nutritional perspective, for example, the word nutrition, N-U-T, nut. If you look up the Latin, where that comes from, it comes from the word nux, lux, numen, and lumen, which nux and lux and numen and lumen all refer to light. And that word became nut. There's a goddess Nut, actually, within the Egyptian practices. But nut literally means light. And Rishon is a process of that light. So as light goes through a process of change and condenses itself, it literally can offer itself in the form of nutrition. And this is quite obvious. It's quite obvious because, all the latest discoveries of the most profound nutrients known to man, like lycopene. Lycopene is just a Latin word that means red. So they're literally saying the red color of light frequency within whole foods affects the entire circulatory system, is good for the heart, does all these amazing things. American Heart Association says, best food for your heart and circulatory system is tomatoes because it's such a concentration of this color red, but it's in watermelon, it's in capsicum. So the color red, lycopene, oh, the color red, oh my gosh, look at this amazing stuff. And then we can have conversations about, the color orange. So we move up in frequency, red, orange, yellow, green, blue. They're different color frequencies on a scale as it comes in. Like if you were to see light hit a prism, it would come in on a very specific scale of red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, violet. So you look at orange. Orange they call carotene, probably because carrots are orange. And yes, it's a Latin word that means orange. And, we have scientists going crazy about just the color orange in foods and how it fights off cancer and eliminates inflammation, improves eyesight, and does all these brilliant things. So, when we look into the languaging, we look into our actual foods of red foods, orange foods, yellow foods, blue foods, and we start to look at anthocyanins and other, phytonutrients, and their ability to do so many things in our brains and in our body. It becomes obvious that, bringing in whole, fresh, raw foods, light foods into the body is going to add more light. It's going to add more frequency to our bodies. So, obviously that's the way to go. If you actually want to raise your vibration, if you want to have more light, hold more information, and raise your level of consciousness, it literally comes down to the things that we're putting in and the things that we're doing. I would say that light actually starts out as sound on the highest frequency. And people might argue with this, but I'm going to say sound is number one. And if you look back to ancient texts and even that of the Bible, it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God," or good, or whatever this consciousness that existed. And when God spoke, he said, or she said, "Let there be light." And in that saying, in that vibration, all this vibration going out, light all of a sudden came into existence. So you could say that there's a vibration of sound literally at the top, and that created light. Well, I believe that that's the case. It went from sound to light, and light also condenses. And it's all about as above, so below, and it's about the descending, the pyramid, the descending of what comes down to create actual physical matter. E equals mc squared. It's a proven fact that all matter that we can touch and see and everything that we interact with in our lives is essentially energy in motion. Energy at a level of motion and vibration that we can see it, touch it, feel it, seems all physical and all of this. So I believe that we go from sound to light, then into gases. Light from the sun and things condense and it becomes a gas. And there are all kinds of different gases, and we breathe that gas. Now, if you think of light as a frequency of nutrition, okay, remember, reds, lycopenes, orange carotenes, we have all these different kinds. If we think of it as nutrition, then breathing is a nutritive act. And as we breathe deeply and we breathe consciously, we are nourishing our bodies. If you want to raise your vibration, simply breathe deeply and consciously, continuously, and your vibration will be raised. The amount of oxygen and other things that come in, the amount of acid that's expelled, the amount of presence that you have when you simply breathe consciously. Getting out into the sun. We live in such an indoctrinated world where we're told to cover up and live in a cave and put on, creams that completely block out the sun. And, vitamin D is a crucial hormone for balancing everything in the body, for making us feel good, for enlightening every cell of the body. Every cell of the body has specific information it's given for its life cycle, when it's supposed to live, when it's supposed to die. If it loses that information, it could become cancerous, it could become all these different things. So getting out into the light is actually information for the cells. These guys, for thousands of years, would get out every morning in the sun and watch the sun rise. It's called sun gazing. And when the sun first comes over the horizon, it's literally in an infrared state. Remember that low vibrational state. But it's also a state, if you took an infrared light and put it onto a plant, it would literally grow some 5 to 10 times faster. It actually grows faster by having focused infrared light. It's a light that creates growth. A fantastic thing. So opening up the eyes and just simply watching the sun come over the horizon before it's in a state of an ultraviolet frequency. For the first 45 minutes to an hour of sunrise and sunset, the last 45 minutes of sunset, there's no actual ultraviolet light. So you can look directly into the sun, and it's actually quite nutritive. My dad calls it a nutrient-dense brain snack to actually wake up in the morning and watch the sunrise for maybe the first 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on how much you've built up your light. If you can imagine, the brain having essentially in your eyes and everything having a filament, our filament, if we haven't been doing this, might be like a 10 watt, and it can only handle so much. So, my dad would say only look at it for 13 seconds, and the next day double it, 26 seconds, the next day double it, and work your way up to where you're looking at it for a long period of time. Now, I don't want to get stuck on this, but I believe that sun gazing and bringing that light into the brain, into the body, can set your internal clock, can totally combat depression, can help you to feel good, feel fantastic, and to start to unlock certain things within our brain to start having a direct connection with the divine, with consciousness, with information, or with the essence of who you are, unlocking your own DNA, unlocking your own lineage and things that is within you. Everything in existence is contained within you, I believe, and it's just a matter of unlocking it and unfolding it, peeling back layers of the onion. So looking at the sun in the morning, getting out into the sun, our skin, every cell of our skin is like solar panels. There's specific, I don't know if I have it here, but there's specific ones that I have where it shows the Egyptians holding up their hands like this into the sun. And the hands are very specifically the only place that the blood runs very closely. You can actually see red blood running through at that part in my hands. You can see it. And so when the blood's flowing through and it's the closest to the skin, I'm holding that to ultraviolet light. We actually use ultraviolet light to purify water. We use it to purify different things. Well, what if I could hold my hands up and simply breathe and allow my heart to pump and all my blood is flowing through there, and that ultraviolet light is affecting it in a way that kills bad bacteria, potentially viruses, adds nutritional qualities beyond our comprehension into my actual blood. If all of the food that is contained that we're eating in the form of, capsicum and oranges and tomatoes and blueberries and all these things is the light frequency that's actually building the immune system and giving us all these beautiful properties, well, then sunlight contains it all. Sunlight actually is all the frequencies of light. And what if we're actually taking that in when we're laying in it, when we're putting our hands in it? What if we can actually receive a level of nutrition without eating? To me, it's like, duh, that's obvious. Breathing deeply is giving us nutrients. It's levels of gases that are contained on another frequency, a higher vibration. But maybe because we're at such a low density vibration, taking all of our stuff off the bottom rung, that's what our body literally morphs itself and transforms into being able to extrapolate the nutrition from those dense things, and not so as much that. But when you get rid of that, your energy, your vibration starts to step up and receive the vibrations of these higher things. And this is what I want to get into, essentially. So we have sound, we have light, and then we have gases. And gases then condense into liquids. It's a known fact. Like water. Water is hydrogen and oxygen. 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, brought together in some way with some magic electricity from, maybe lightning going off, and there you go. You have, water falling from the sky, and we drink that. Water is also nutritive. I've literally seen an experiment in Oregon when I was in my 20s of these guys who put distilled water in a hermetically sealed container. My dad has seen this as well. Hermetically sealed container of distilled water. They put it in the sun, and within minutes it starts to form minerals in it. actual minerals, metals, and things in the water. It's like, wait a second, how did metal get in there? Wait a second, how did minerals get inside that distilled water, which is supposedly empty? Well, it got in there because sunlight, energy traveling through liquid, literally generates and creates minerals. Okay, let's just pretend I didn't say that, because a lot of you are probably going to lose me there and be like, oh, that's blasphemy, whatever. Forget I even said that. Let's take, we have sound, we have light, we have gases, then we have liquids, then we have solid matter. So then we have the mineral kingdom, and then we're starting to look at the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. This is what I want to get into. So with the plant kingdom, I believe that's a higher vibratory rate because plants literally live on the water, the air, and the sunlight. They're not really requiring anything else. And people say, oh, well, they eat the soil. No, they don't. They don't eat soil. They generate everything they need from sunlight and from water, and yes, maybe the use of some minerals. This is why you can grow plants hydroponically. And when plants die, that becomes the soil and the vibration of higher things that grows an even healthier plant the next time. But essentially, it's not necessary. Plants aren't actually eating the dirt. They live on sunlight, air, and water, essentially. So I believe they're a higher vibration. Then we have animals. Then we have animals that eat the plants, which essentially I think are higher vibrational animals because they're getting their nutrition from plants, which are higher vibration, from sunlight, from water, and from air. So it's a step down. Then we have animals that live on other animals and plants. We have carnivorous, and this is a denser level of vibration. It's a denser quality. And it's quite obvious. And even to the human psyche, humans that are animal eaters actually crave to eat more herbivore animals. That's why people eat cows and even pigs and chickens and these types of things, because generally they're fed plants. It's a natural kind of disgusting thing to us to think about eating dogs and cats and hyenas and lions and other animals that are eating other animals. And I believe that's an inbuilt system into us, knowing that that's the very lowest grade of nutrition, the lowest grade of light. You get what I'm saying? An animal living on another animal that had to get its light, from the animal and then from the plant and then from all these other things. It's the lowest grade of light. So if we want to raise our vibration, first of all, we should not be eating animals that eat other animals, because that's the lowest density. Then second of all, we should probably be looking at, well, maybe we shouldn't be eating animals at all. Maybe we should be getting our frequencies of light directly from the sun, from breathing, from drinking water, and from plants, which are a high vibration. And then what if we actually stepped it up a notch and said, what if we could live on just sunlight, breathing deeply and consciously, and drinking liquids? What if? And these days I see, movies like Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, where this guy's literally fat, sick, and nearly dead from living on the lowest vibrational frequencies that exist in the form of processed foods and sugars, artificial colors and sweeteners and all this crap. His body's just this boggy pit of disgusting near death. And he goes online and, oh, hey, yeah, juice fasting. That sounds great. Okay, let's look at that. Yeah, I'm going to do 60 days on juice. Joe Cross. 60 days, bang. And it probably would have been great if he'd done enemas and learned a little bit about cleaning the skin and breathing exercises. Could have probably helped the guy a lot through the process. But, hey, stuff it. I'm just going to do juice for 60 days. And he did it, and he freaking lost a lot of weight. He healed himself the disease, and he raised his vibration to such a level of detoxification and energy that was fantastic, absolutely amazing, which I think is great. So I think that there's a problem a lot of times when people want to move from a situation of eating carnivorous animals and other animals. They want to move up the rung. It's tough because we become that dense. We're living at that level of density, and anytime you raise your vibration up the ladder, you're going to detox from the lower vibration. Your body's nervous system and everything literally starts to wake up. And when it wakes up, it doesn't like what it sees. It sees plaque and accumulation of toxicity, bacteria, and other things that are existing. From that low level of vibration, it literally goes into, healing crisis. You get sick, you feel like crap, you're shitting, pissing, whatever, getting it out of your body so that you can go upscale. Now, a lot of times when someone goes from being a meat eater to wanting to eat just plants, and if they're not doing any massive detox, they just want to move up, and all of a sudden they stop eating meat, they're not used to that. The last 7 years of what you've been eating is what your whole entire body's composed of. So if all of a sudden you make a change, you're going to start to detox from that change. And a meat eater going on to plants, all of a sudden not going to feel good. Going to feel like crap, I'm lethargic, I don't have energy, I don't feel like I'm getting nutrition. Oh, this sucks. I don't know how anybody's vegetarian. I don't know anybody's vegan, especially, or any of these things. Raw foodists, oh my God, I'm dying. Well, what if that same individual, if they did like a detox or a cleanse or push the limits of the human experience way up the ladder to, let's say, a fast, being out in the sun, doing breathing exercises, cleaning your clacker out a little bit, drinking the fluids of fresh pressed plants, all of a sudden detoxing to such a high degree, when they came back down to the kingdom of plants, which then would be a lot denser than where you're living, maybe for 21 days, 30 days, 60 days, whatever, when you come back down to plants, all of a sudden it feels dense again. It feels good. You're getting the nutrients. It's a step up, but you've essentially cleansed to get to that step, rather than just going from meat to plants and maybe 6 months later even still detoxing, or even a year later. Some people I hear, I tried to be vegetarian for, I did it for 6 months, didn't work for me. I did it for a year, didn't work for me. Well, maybe you were still detoxing. Maybe you weren't actually vegetarian. In fact, I would say you're not an actual vegetarian until you've lived it for 7 years. Because then every cell in your body has been replaced by that, and that's what you are. You are what you eat, but only over time and distance of doing those very specific acts to build your entire body. If you've been a vegan for 7 months, you're not actually vegan. Until you've been vegan for 7 years and your whole body's composed of just plants, there you go. And just saying you're vegan doesn't mean you're healthy. You could live on Oreo cookies and soy milk, you know what I mean? And be vegan and not be healthy. Besides the point. So imagine, just like a person that smokes cigarettes, when you smoke cigarettes and you smoke, for 10, 20 years, your lungs have a level of plaque, a level of tar, a level of defunctioning ability. It's literally shut down one of the lungs and working on half of what you could. If you go to a smoker who's been smoking for so long and say, look, that's not healthy, they might actually think, well, yeah, I'm fine. My grandma lived to be 99, she smoked till she was 99, whatever. Why isn't it healthy? And so think of that. They'd actually think it's healthy. And if you got a smoker to quit smoking, they would actually start to detox. They'd actually feel sicker, most likely, immediately. Because what happens when you stop smoking, the nervous system and everything starts to wake back up. And when it wakes up, it doesn't like what it sees, which is a bunch of plaque and tar and disgusting stuff. So it takes time of detoxification, time to change. I know that within 7 years of quitting smoking, your lungs will be brand new. You can't even tell that person was a smoker, especially if they do deep breathing exercises and use essential oils and be about practices of exercise and things that will help detoxify the lungs. But what I'm getting at is, just like a meat eater wanting to get off meat is like a smoker wanting to get off smoking. It's not easy. It's a hard process. And you have to know what to do. And maybe some levels of detoxification would make it much easier. So if we want to raise our vibration, if we want to evolve, I believe, our consciousness in our physical body to another state in 2015, take it to a whole nother level, it comes down to your environment. It comes down to daily practice. My dad always talked about gnosis, praxis, and intellicus. To know, to do, and to become. And a long time we've been about this gnosis, and it's time to practice. Put into practice that which we know, therefore becoming. That's what this year is about, wholly and fully for me, is about the practice. I have the knowledge, now I just need to practice it. And what does the practice look like? It looks like breathing deeply, the 7 principles of life: air, water, sunshine, exercise, whole foods, relationships, and then passion in our life. And passion really comes down to finding our mission in life. What is my mission? What is the thing that drives me so much that that's all I want to be about? That's all I want to do. that's my mission. When I'm living from my mission, energy, vitality, creativity, everything comes into place for that mission to be accomplished, especially if I believe it can be. So on a daily basis, breathing deeply. On a daily basis, drinking copious amounts of fresh and clean water. On a daily basis, getting out into the sun and embracing it. Sun gazing, looking at it, opening it up, getting my sun, my solar panels out into the sun and receiving that light into the temple. Yes, if you're sick, yes, if you're full of plaque, yes, if you have cancer and you get in the sun, it's going to draw that out of your body. You'll get skin cancer because it's pulling cancer out of your body. And thank God it was skin cancer and not liver cancer or brain tumors or anything else. Okay? Whole foods, eating fresh, living fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, anything that grows out of the ground, eat it, consume it. That's what I'm about this year. This year, yes, I'm becoming 100% vegan this year. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to live on plants for a year and see how I feel. Okay? Then relationships. Really looking at our relationship with ourselves and looking at the relationships of everyone around us, because everyone around us is a reflection of what's going on internally. Whatever I'm experiencing with a person on the external realm, this plane, whatever my relationship is here, is to give me direct teachings of what's happening internally. And I need to start to recognize that. And then, like I said, our mission. So, thank you for watching. This is all about raising our vibration, moving up scale, because there's whole nother levels and videos that I want to make about when we start to raise our vibration to the top rung, the top of the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, when we fully start to open our consciousness and see all. Yes, I'm making Illuminati signals. Oh my gosh. No, I'm not. I'm not from the Illuminati. I'm from consciousness. And I know that these symbols passed down from thousands of years from ancient Egypt through the Freemasons and whatever you want to call them, those symbols are to awaken our consciousness. They're for our higher consciousness. Now, if groups have taken this information and gone off and ruled the world and done weird, crazy, evil stuff, is besides the point. I don't know. I don't care to know. All I know is I want to evolve my consciousness. I want to create goodness and happiness and health and divine being for all of us. We're all coming into this, and we're all going to start waking up. It's already happening. I'm awake. Not going to say I'm enlightened yet, but I'm awake, and I'm getting there, and I'm feeling it. And I know a lot of you are feeling the call as well. So it's about these daily practices. And then I promise you I'll start to make other videos about some of the other levels that we're going to tap into. Because right now, foods, when you really fast and cleanse your system, organic, whole, amazing, fresh foods coming off, especially of a water fast, orgasmic, dense, feeling good, feeling fantastic, eating fresh papaya, mango, nuts and seeds and sprouted grain breads and avocados and all of these beautiful things are so orgasmic, and they're downloading consciousness into our bodies. They're downloading light into our bodies. And the more conscious we become, the more we receive the messages of those plants. It's like when you eat a psychedelic mushroom. The message is really intense. There's a lot of information to raise our consciousness. Well, guess what? Every plant has that. It's only we're at a level of density of not truly being able to receive the messages of these plants and where these plants come from. But we can get there. We'll get there to where we'll just eat one plant avocado and be tripping on avocados. Yes. And then there's a level above that. We'll hit a level eventually where our head will poke through and we'll be like, oh my God. And we'll hit a level of consciousness that is so orgasmic and so amazing and so full of energy that even when we come back down to the level of eating plants, it's not going to do it for us. And there's going to be many people who are going to want to step off the rung of plants. And I think that potentially there's already people experimenting with it. And I would ask that we get together and experiment with this together and have conversations and fast and pray. When I say pray, I mean, fasting and meditating and having conversation and building and growing together. We need to create the next renaissance. That's what this is about. And bring about the highest vibrations of sacred geometry in paintings and in our visuals and architecture and everything else, within the sounds of the music that we play, with the effluvial molecules of the essential oils and fragrances that we breathe, so we see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, start to implement sacred geometry in every way that we possibly can and raise our vibrations just like the greats of old. Pythagoras, Leonardo da Vinci, Plato, Socrates. All of these individuals fasted for extended periods. All of these individuals were interested in the evolution of the human experience. And I believe the ultimate achievement within that will be immortality. We will find how to live indefinitely if we choose to. I believe in Egypt there were people doing this. Now I mean immortal in the sense that we do not oxidize. We live and we stay young, and you can even reverse aging. I've learned enough from these guys here, and that's exactly what they believe. But if you have your head cut off by an invading force, you're still going to die, and you might have to come back in the next life and try over. Try it again, which is what we're all doing. So thanks for watching this video. I hope I've inspired you potentially to raise your vibration in 2015. Cheers.